Before you come back on that, Minister, and it's this issue in relation to door-to-door collections that Deputy Donnelly has raised. I know Councillor Lawrence Fallon is someone who's raised this in County Roscommon, where we've had, you know, a proliferation of these in the past, where people have a sticker that they circulate through the letter boxes with a charity number on it, given the impression that these organisations are legitimate, registered charities. Is there a mechanism in the legislation where someone that is giving that impression can be pursued, even though they're not saying that they're a registered charity, but clearly they're giving the impression by having a charity number that they are?
Yeah. I might work backwards on that one, because the bill does provide that an individual who is doing this now would be committing an offence, an individual. So previously there was groups of individuals that weren't an organisation and they were going around purporting to be an organisation, but the bill is proposing that if an individual is discovered doing it, that individual is committing an offence as well. So that will improve things. It won't solve it, because by the nature of it, it's very difficult to pin down. They don't have offices, they don't have set operations, and that's the hardest thing about it. I think almost on an annual basis, if not more regularly these days, the regulator does try to put information campaigns out in the public domain about checking the bona fides of a company that puts that slip in the door. My experience from what I've seen is that they tend not to put any number on it, because if you put a number on it, and even a fake one, someone might check it and they'll discover it's a fake one. But my experience is they put no number on it and just hope for the best, and unfortunately people do go for it. But there's an awareness raising exercise part of that, part of the solution there as well, I think. Deputy Donnelly, on the conflict of interest side of things, we'll take away and look at that, and I'll be saying that a couple more times. I think the obligation to remove a trustee in relation to bankruptcy, I hadn't thought about that, and I hadn't seen the detail on that yet, but my instinct tells me we'd need to look at what happens to people who discharge or bankruptcy in other situations as well, and whether their slate is wiped clean, so to speak, and just to have some consistency in that regard. Head 29, Section 89, around the CEOs potentially being employees. So this goes back to that potential company secretary issue as well, in that we do need to do more on this, just to clarify distinction between a trustee and the trustee not getting paid for their trustee role, but then someone on the board who's paid for a different role as well. So that there's a bit of work to be done there. I acknowledge that. I didn't quite get your point on the TAP donations one, but I'll just on the marriage charities, we'll take that away and have a look at that as well. But if you can maybe go over the one around Section 39 around TAP donations.
Yeah. I'll just get that one out. So I suppose there's a sense that there was a previous law that wasn't enacted in relation to door-to-door collections and those type of charities where they're collecting. And I suppose with the advent of, you even see it in churches now, if you're walking down the church you can tap your donation, and it's just I suppose they were saying that it wasn't implemented, and could this be added to this piece of legislation? I'm just trying to find the exact section of it.
I think it's Section 39, I think, is what you mentioned, and it was the lack of the commencement in the 2009 Act of Section 39, is that correct?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Why is that section not being commenced today?
Section 93, is it?
Yep.
Section 93, yeah.
Section 93,
93, sorry, beg your pardon, it is, yeah. That's what it is, yeah. Section 93 of the Charities Act 2009. It never commenced and therefore is not currently law.
Yeah, the issue we have with that is that An Garda Síochána and the Department of Justice have been consistent in their response on this, is that they don't have the capacity to actually enforce the amendments. Now, what the regulator has done in response as well is to create guidelines for charitable organisations and fundraising from the public to address issues around fundraising for charities. But that's the reason they're not being commenced. We're being told consistently that the capacity to implement isn't there.
Okay.
That might be something the committee might want to take a bit further.
I think so, yeah.
In relation to just on those issues and your response, earlier in relation to the door-to-door collections, Minister. One issue that I've personally come across in the past, and all of us have had experience of it, is commercial organisations contacting us regarding selling advertisement. One prime example is in a school journal, and that this is of benefit to a particular school, and that they're acting on behalf of the school. And it's not just schools, it's charities as well. But effectively, all they are is brass plating a commercial operation. And when you actually explore in detail by either contacting the school or charity, they're getting a nominal fee to have their name associated with a particular commercial operation. Now, is there a mechanism to ensure that, you know, where a commercial business which is involved in a commercial operation is saying that we're acting on behalf of a particular charity, that they're obliged to actually clarify how much of that contribution is going towards the charity? For example, there are many radio ads at the moment where if you make a donation towards Ukraine or to a famine in Africa, they clearly state a minimum of €2 of your text message contribution is going to this particular organisation. There are commercial companies out there that are operating on that basis, selling advertising in particular publications, whether it be calendars or diaries and so forth, where there is no indication being given, and when you actually delve into it, the proportion of the contribution that is actually going directly to the organisation is very, very minimal.
So this is where a charity subcontracts a private operator to do this. I'm just trying to pin it down a bit first.
In a lot of cases, it's the commercial company that approaches the charity and says, look, we are in the process of producing a calendar where we're seeking sponsorship for it. We'll circulate it within a particular geographic area, and we would like to have your name associated with it, and for that purpose we are giving you a contribution. But you find out that the proportion of the funds that are generated, that are going to the charity, are minuscule compared to the profit that's being made out of that particular enterprise. Now, I don't think we can outlaw that, and there are some very legitimate fundraising mechanisms used for that. But should there not be an obligation on that organisation to print, or to, at least when they're selling the advertisement, that they say, look, you are buying this ad for €100, of which €2.50 goes to the school, or €2.50 goes to the charity, when clearly the impression that's giving in the sales pitch that you're getting is that it's the other way around, that about €97.50 is going towards the charity or school, when the reality is very different.
So I'm just trying to tease this out a bit now in my head. So you've got a private operation that may be potentially misleading a private citizen in terms of what they're selling to them.
Yes.
And so my concern always is, though, what's happening with the public money. So the charity is buying advertising, which they're entitled to do.
No, the individual. So, for example, let's say the House of the Oireachtas was a charity. Okay. Right, just for example here. So we have Paul Donnelly Publications contacts me to say we are circulating a calendar in the Roscommon area next December, and we are selling advertising, and the beneficiary of this is the House of the Oireachtas charity. and they're selling the advertisement to me at €100, clearly giving me the impression that the vast proportion of the contribution that I am making towards that advert in the calendar that's going to be circulated in Roscommon is going towards that particular charity. In reality, Paul Donnelly Publications is pocketing the substantial proportion of the profit being made, allegedly being made from that. You know, the difficulty is here that it is being sold on the basis that the charity is the main beneficiary in relation to it, where in fact the commercial company is getting the vast bulk of the profits from that. Yeah, Deputy Dunn. Yeah.
I'm quite surprised I'm going today to find out exactly how much money went to the school, because it was a diary.
Yeah.
And
we've all got caught for them. Yeah.
Okay. I actually
We've all
never
got
even
caught
knew
for
until
them,
you said that. That's
and
interesting.
you know, I've questioned it, and I've actually gone back and found out that the amount that is actually going to the school or charity or organisation is absolutely minuscule.
Yeah. My understanding was that this money was going to the school. That's certainly what I was led to believe, that money was going to the school. That's interesting.
I mean, as a basic principle, what we're trying to do here is ensure that charities are more accountable and more transparent in terms of how they use their money. So let's see where we can take that principle in terms of the issue that you're describing, and if furthering that principle and getting it ingrained a bit more, either legislatively or in guidelines, is something that would help a situation like that. I'm not grasping it 100%, but it strikes me that there's something there in terms of the charity being able to explain itself as to why it used money in a certain way.
And maybe the way around this is to skin the cat another way, so to speak, Minister, that there's an obligation on a charity, if they're lend their name to a particular fundraising event, that those people that the contributions are being sought from must be informed of the proportion that's going to the charity. Yeah. And that may be the way around this, but it is a problem, and it's not just in relation to registered charities, as Deputy Donnelly has spoken about, but there are many more organisations out there who are getting caught in the same problem.
I can see how the name or the label or the logo of a charity on any product would make people more amenable to handing their money over on it, and if there's not 100% truth and honesty about what's going on there, then that's something we're interested in, and the regulator would be interested in. Whether it's guidance or legislation or policy, I'm not sure, but let's look at that.
Thank you. Sorry for using your name in vain, Deputy Donnelly. Maybe might have a summer project to get involved in now.